I love finding good budget recording gear options for amateur musicians, so I was thrilled when Fifine sent me their K688 dynamic microphone. This microphone is a budget microphone that includes both XLR and USB connections. Let's open up the box and see how this thing performs. First impressions is that it looks quite a bit like the Shure SM7B, so that's cool. This pop filter is very soft, which is awesome. It feels quite light. It is metal, but it feels really light. So, I mean, it's a budget mic, so what do you expect? But it doesn't feel like it has high-end components inside, obviously. It comes with a shock mount, which apparently is permanently mounted. It's screwed on, and it would be really hard. Well, I guess you could. But it seems like it's a more or less permanently mounted shock mount. There's a mute button here on the side, which apparently is just a touch button because it doesn't click. And on the bottom, we have an XLR port and a USB-C port, as well as a 3.5 millimeter headphone output. There are two knobs, one for the headphones and one for the mic volume. And the knobs are actually surprising. They feel like they have a decent build quality to them. So that's impressive. Overall, I love the look of this thing. It feels light, but that really is pretty small in the grand scheme of what's important about a microphone. So let's get this thing working and see how it sounds. There's no XLR cable in the box, but there is an included USB-C to, I guess it's USB-C or USB-A adapter. On this end, looks like a 5 or 6 foot cable. So we'll use that to get started. All right, I have the K688 dynamic microphone plugged into my computer via USB cable, and I have my headphones plugged into the 3.5 millimeter jack on the bottom of this microphone. Let's unmute and see if this thing works. Check. Oh yeah, that works quite well. I'm gonna just turn down my headphone volume just a little. The first thing that I'm noticing is that there's quite a bit of handling sound when I'm touching these cables. That picks up every single thing. That is going to be potentially problematic if you are wanting to handle this microphone. An obvious solution is having it on a stand. Let's do some tests with it. I'm going to hold on to this. Hopefully we don't have too much handling sound. Let's do some experiments at various distances to see what this thing sounds like. This is me talking directly into the Fifine K688 at about 3 inches. This is me talking directly into the Fifine K688 at about 12 inches. This is me talking directly into the Fifine K688 at about 24 inches. Let's go real close and see what the proximity effect looks like. I don't think I quite clipped there, so we're good. This thing has a polar pattern, so let's see how it rejects sounds at the side. So this is speaking directly into the microphone. This is speaking into the microphone at 90 degrees. This is speaking into the back side of the microphone. This is speaking into the microphone at 90 degrees again. And back directly into it, and now my cables are all twisted up. Somehow I muted it. Okay, so that mute button, because it's just a touch button, it's pretty easy to bump accidentally, so that's one thing you're going to want to watch. Again, if you're handling it, it will be an issue. If you have it on a stand, which you should because of the handling noise, then you should be good. I think the mute button is a cool feature. For what I do, I never use a mute button because I'm just recording talking heads or music. But if you're gaming or something, I suppose the mute button would be a cool feature. It has this pop filter on it, which is really cool and soft. Let's take this off and see what we have. So it looks like there's a nice metal mesh here that's protecting the microphone diaphragm. Let's just do a test. Here's a test without the pop filter. Here's a test with the pop filter. Let's see how effective that pop filter is. Please pass the purple plums. Please pass the purple plums. Let's see how this thing compares to the Audio-Technica AT2050, which is another relatively low budget microphone. So I'm holding them both here close together. This is test audio with the Audio-Technica AT2050, and this is test audio with the Fifine K688. The handling noise is obviously a pretty big issue with this thing, so let's mount it on a stand here so that we don't have to worry about the handling noise, and at the same time I'll check the XLR capabilities of this. Alright, I have the K688 mounted on my microphone arm here, and using the XLR cable, I'm plugged into my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 audio interface. The one thing to note is that the direct monitoring headphones do not work on XLR mode, so I'm going to monitor from my interface instead. Check 1, 2. Okay, I can monitor now through the direct monitoring on my audio interface. The mute button does not work when it's on XLR mode, so that's something to note. And the handling noise is still an issue even on XLR mode. Handling the boom arm though is fine, so if you have it in a setup like this, you're just gonna have to make sure that you don't touch the microphone and only touch the boom arm, and you should still be able to move your microphone around. So I think it's actually a pretty good setup right here. It looks cool, and I'm pretty happy with how it sounds. Sure, it's not the Shure SM7B sound, but this thing's cheap, 120 bucks Canadian dollars, 70 US dollars on Amazon. It's not a bad price at all. For the price, I think this thing sounds great and it's very usable. I'm curious how well it rejects keyboard sounds, so I'm just going to pretend I'm shooting a tutorial here or something. I'll pull it in here, aiming it at the corner of my mouth. I'll click my mouse a few times and do some typing here, and it's hard for me to tell, but you can tell how well this is rejecting the sound from my keyboard. So there's some tests with speaking into the microphone. But what I'm really curious about is how this thing performs with music. So let's try some instruments and some vocals and see how the Fifine K688 holds up to that. So I'm going to record a short little guitar track and then throw some vocals on top just to test this microphone out. I'm going to position the microphone in front of the sound hole but angled back at the 12th fret, which is a decent way to single mic a guitar. So let's give this a shot. Alright, so that's some raw guitar. I'm not going to do any processing on that. No EQ, no compression, no nothing. Just simply what you hear from the microphone. Let me throw some vocals on top of that. I'm going to position the microphone about 9 or 10 inches away. That's kind of the sweet spot for recording vocals. Here we go. Do you like the sound of this microphone? Let me give that to you one more time so you can hear it all together. Do you like the sound of this microphone? Okay, so there you have a completely unprocessed, raw song recorded with the Fifine K688 dynamic microphone. And actually, I'm pretty impressed with it. For the price of this microphone, there is nothing wrong with that sound. I'm not going to get into the deep technical analysis of the frequency curve and all of that. You can look that information up online if you're interested in that sort of thing. Honestly, for most beginners, that stuff doesn't matter that much anyways. There's a lot of other things to get down pat first before you have to worry too much about the exact frequency response curve of your microphone. For a beginner microphone, I would recommend this thing. It's great. If you have a professional studio, probably not, but you're probably not even going to be here if you have a professional studio anyways. So if you're looking for a budget option, I can recommend it. The biggest downside of this thing is the mic handling noise. So if you have any sort of setup where you're going to be holding the microphone, then I would stay away. But if you're going to be mounting it on a mic stand or a mic arm or anything like that where it's mounted, then absolutely, I would recommend this thing. It sounds good for the price, and I think it looks good for the price. So go for it. If you want to buy this thing, there's a link to it in the description. If you're interested in doing your own recording and want a step-by-step guide on how to record your first song and film your own music videos, then I've included a free PDF guide in the description as well. You can check that out and learn how to film your first song and record your first music video.